Welcome to the stream, ladies and gentlemen. #1 commentary channel on YouTube, and we're finally back. And if you guys noticed, I'm sure you guys have, we've been bringing it all: the news, the live commentaries, the predictions, and now the podcast as well too. Every Monday morning or afternoon. Today we elected to go afternoon. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Thank you guys for being here for another episode. On the menu today, if you're wondering what we're going to talk about, which we'll talk about more than just the topics that I'm about to mention, but is McGregor and Chandler going to fight on UFC 300? We keep seeing back and forth on when they're going to fight. There's rumors that there's going to be different, another division added, just craziness all in general. But will McGregor versus Chandler be on UFC 300? Is Alexander Volkanovski's reign over? Because I don't know, man. All these previous champions appear to have been going down, being knocked over like bowling pins, one by one. If you look at the rankings and all the champions in each division, it just appears that things are changing. So is Volkanovski gonna be the champion at the end of 2024? And also as well too, is Strickland gonna be on 299? Because if he is, does that mean that, simply enough, the other Sean O'Malley, needs his help in selling tickets? All that and more, guys, for today's show. 267-545-8096. If you want to talk about your predictions on Volkanovski Topuria, whether Strickland is going to be on 299, or whether Conor McGregor and Chandler are fighting at UFC 300. Now, before we get into that and a couple more people start coming through, I wanted to quickly bring up, before we talk about anything, I like the topics on, for example, when Colby had the chance to fight for the title again for a third time, which he failed at, which we called it. One of the ongoing debates besides that fight happening was, should he have been allowed to even fight a third time for the shot? He lost already twice to Usman. He hasn't beat any ranked opponents as of recent. He beat a washed Masvidal, beat RDA a while back in Woodley, but he had no recent recognizable wins. Nonetheless, he fought for the title a third time and failed again. I don't think he's going to get a shot anytime soon, but nonetheless, when it came to that fight, it was being argued that some were saying he deserved it, some were saying he didn't. I don't know what side you guys fall on that topic, but something similar as far as that same topic on whether this guy deserves it if he gets a shot is not confirmed yet. It's not breaking news, but it's something to talk about. And that's whether Khamzat Chimaev deserves a shot at the title. Khamzat Chimaev being a fighter that in essence hasn't beat 185 pounders, right? You can say his fights recently have been close, but nonetheless, Bo Nickel, who I think is the future of the division that I've been talking about quite some time, he made a comment, and that's what I want to talk about firstly. Shout out to George for giving us the idea on this topic as well too. The guy has been helping out a ton, but nonetheless, the topic of discussion goes as follows, as far as the quote being made. Bo Nickel says, dude, they're gonna give Khamzat the title shot for sure at some point. So he didn't say that it's gonna happen the very next fight, even though I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if it's Dricus versus Khamzat before Dricus versus Sean Strickland rematch, Dricus versus Adesanya. Either could potentially happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's Khamzat that skips the line. Bo Nickel also says, I don't think he's gonna have to fight again. So this is the main, I guess you could say, point that I want to focus on whether he has a point or not. I don't think he's gonna have to fight again until he gets a title shot. Do I think he deserves that? No. He hasn't fought a single 85er. He's fought less 85ers than me. My opponents aren't even on the roster anymore. And Bo Nickel laughs at his comments. If we look through a bit on what people had to say about it, well, there's a discussion, which I think leads for us having a good show. Lance says Bo played himself. Having opponents not on the roster anymore means they weren't UFC caliber. Love the self-awareness on Bo. Accidentally admits his resume is cans. Lieutenant B says, 2 hype jobs. Make them fight each other and winner gets top. Man, I would argue Bo Nichols' wrestling is way better than Hamza Shemaev's. And I would argue that even right now, pretty early in Bo Nichols' career, I think Bo wins that fight. Stick to wrestling, kid. Who did you beat? Nobody. They are not on the roster because they were bums and no one knew them. Hamza has fought elite, which is another discussion we'll talk about in a second. Why the F would he ever get a title shot after almost losing to Burns and Usman? I honestly thought he lost to both. The Gilbert Fines was... The Gilbert Burns fight was extremely close, in my opinion. I thought it was closer than most might admit. You could even argue that Gilbert Burns won that fight, which is crazy. And in the Usman fight, a narrative that was talked about a ton. We're talking about Hamza Shemaev for anybody that's stopping through and just getting here now. But a narrative that was spoken about a lot after the Hamzat fight at 185 against Usman. It was Usman coming off 2 losses. It was Usman fighting at 185, so going up in weight 15 pounds. And it was also Usman coming off the couch. I think he was given a week's notice, if that, to fight Hamza. And with all those intangibles or all those factors, at the end of the day, it was an extremely close fight. And many argue that if it was a 5-round fight, even with Usman off the couch, even with Usman not naturally fighting at 185, and you could argue he was a smaller guy. With all that being said, Usman almost beat him. And if it was a 5-round fight, Usman potentially would have won, is the argument that was made. And this goes to a point that I think the next video would be after we finish today is Hamza Shemaev, and we've been talking about this a bit, not majorly. Is Hamza Shemaev a hype job, guys? Let's talk about it.
You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say,
is he a hype job? You look at his record, you look at what he has accomplished, and we've talked about this at length, but it's one of my favorite topics because I feel we're gonna be Miss Cleo. I think we're gonna be That's So Raven. Horrible analogy, and I'm showing my age there, but I've been on this topic for a while, and I think I'm going to be proven right. That being that Hamza Shemaev is, in a sense, hyped, and he won't sniff the top of, I would say, the top 3 of the middleweight division. I think his ceiling is perhaps top 5, and he might not even see that. Could he beat Vettori? Possibly. Does he beat Cannonier? Maybe. When it comes to the top 3, Whitaker, Adesanya, Strickland, I don't have that much faith in Hamza Shemaev. We also look at his record and his era of, I guess you could say, dominance. His era where he did spectacular, and when he arrived in the UFC and when people thought he was the future, people thought that he was going to run through the welterweight division. And what has happened is that I think we have come to the conclusion that he's not going to make 170 anymore. From now on, he'll fight at 185. Now, when he was at 170, when he was fighting in the UFC, when he had the run that just looked spectacular against Rice McKee by knockout, and then this was an interesting era, is when he fought Rice McKee, beats him July 25th. And then a few months later, about 2 months later, not even, he fights Gerald Meerschaert. Crazy knockout. So he also showed some of his stand-up. Then he fights Li Jingliang a month later after that and beats him by rear naked choke. Remember, he picked up Li Jingliang and he was talking to Dana while he was toying with Li. Those 3 fights were when I think Hamza was at the climax of his career, when people thought, oh, this guy's the future. And I bought into it a bit. I thought to myself, this guy is somewhat unstoppable. This guy can't be stopped. He's just a special fighter. And I guess we have a caller that wants to talk about it. 267-545 if you want to call in. But Joey, it says you're muted, so make sure you unmute yourself. Joe De Jesus wants to talk about it. So let's join him. Joe, welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming through. If you hear me, you're on mute, but feel free to unmute yourself. And let's have a discussion. Is Hamzat overrated? Whenever he shows himself, we'll see. But We have Joe in the call. There we go. Joe in the call. What's up, Joe? Welcome to the stream.
Miller, what's good? How are you? All right?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I just finished my work day early, so I'm on my way back home right now. You had a good weekend, good time with the family?
Great time, man. Hung out with some friends, ate maybe too much food, but good time overall. How about yourself?
I had a good time. I can tell you had a good time. I can tell you had maybe you got drunk or something from how you're talking right now. About saying that,
set that up for me. Okay.
About saying how Khamzat is overrated.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Who thinks he's the best fighter ever? I don't. Do people think he's the best fighter in history? I mean, I don't. From what I think, from what I can tell, people are just saying he's an extremely talented fighter who is dangerous on the feet and has a dangerous ground game, is really strong, and on his day can beat anybody. Isn't that kind of what people have been saying about him? I mean, what he's not Khabib. I mean, no one's saying that he's Khabib Nurmagomedov or something, right? I mean, unless you're saying that, unless you were reading that somewhere, maybe you saw something that I didn't see, maybe.
So two things, which is quite interesting. For one, you made a comment that I wouldn't even agree with you even to that extent. You said that on a good day, you said that he would beat he could beat anybody if he's like sharp, right?
Yes,
is that your claim?
100%. That's 100%.
Okay, so I disagree with that wholeheartedly. That's number one. Wow. Yeah, so we could talk about that in a bit, but just to answer to what you said. And number two, people believe, from what I've been reading, from what I've been seeing, they believe that he's next up, that he has potential to be middleweight champion. I don't think he sniffs the top three.
Oh, you don't see a world where he beats Sean Strickland or Dricus?
Nope.
You're joking, right?
I'm not joking. I'm dead serious.
Miller, come on, man. Be real. I want you to be real. Listen to me. Wait a second. Wait a minute.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Dead serious. You don't think he can
hand on the Bible.
You don't think. Hold on. You don't think he can put in a better performance than Sean Strickland did
against Dricus? No, I think Dricus beats Khamzat too.
How does he beat him? He's not knocking him out.
Staying away from letting Khamzat take him to the ground. He might even take Khamzat to the ground. That's debatable. Dricus is big for the division. Khamzat is known for bullying 170-pounders. He's in a whole different division that I think people just glance over.
Listen, I'm saying this right now. I think Khamzat knocks Dricus out. Clean out if they fight.
So like we've arrived at the truth. We've arrived at the truth. You believe Khamzat is next up. That's the topic of discussion. I don't think he is.
I'm not saying he necessarily deserves it, but I'm saying if he were to fight next for the belt, he would destroy Dricus. I firmly believe that.
No. I don't think he destroys Robert Whittaker. I don't even think he destroys Jared Cannonier. I think Cannonier might beat him.
Listen, I'm saying, now if he flops, he might flop, but what I'm telling you is, on his day, if Khamzat is on point, he's got a good camp, no injuries, everything, there's zero worlds where there's no worlds where Sean Strickland beats him or Dricus beats him. Like, him and Israel Adesanya was like the fight that we were all, back when he was going on his little rampage, that's what we were saying. We all wanted him to fight Izzy, but now that Izzy doesn't have the belt anymore, I just don't see where you're.
What makes you believe that? What makes you believe that What makes you believe that on his best day, if he's healthy, if he has a good camp and all those intangibles, if everything goes well for him, what makes you believe he beats him?
Because I watch his fights.
All right, so what performances are you like, hey, this guy's the guy? What performances makes you say, because he did that in this fight, he'll also do that to Dricus, to Sean Strickland? Any fight that you could think of is at 170, I'm assuming.
Was it Paul Craig? Was that the one?
He didn't even fight Paul Craig, so no.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'll give you the name. I'll give you the names that he has fought.
Okay, give me the names and I'll tell you what it was.
John Phillips, Rice McKee, Gerald Mearshart, Li Jinglong, Gilbert Burns, Kevin Holland.
Gerald, that's the one. The Gerald fight. If he goes in like that, there's no way Dricus is beating him. I'm sorry. There's no way. There's zero chance. I remember watching that fight and thinking that's one of the worst. That's one of the most violent. I shouldn't say violent. It was just shocking the way he knocked him out. I'm not gonna put it as one of the most, but I just remember watching that fight and thinking, oh my gosh, this man has dynamite in his hands, and he's fast too. So I just don't. The way Dricus was fighting, Sean Strickland for that belt. He just was throwing wide punches. He was landing a little bit, but I just don't see Dricus beating him at all. Maybe he gets another bogus decision against him like he did against Sean Strickland, but he's not gonna destroy him. Or if Khamzat is on his form, is shows up to fight, that same Khamzat that came to fight against Gerald, that's not even going to be a fight. That's going to be a massacre.
Welcome to the stream, Danny Burns. Joe, you brought up Gerald Meerschaert, and I don't want to glance over that a bit, but I agree. Incredible knockout back in 2020. That's a Meerschaert that prior to that Khamzat fight, he got knocked out in the very fight before Khamzat. Quicker as well too. That's Gerald Meerschaert that has 17 losses. Granted, he looked great, but I think the problem with Khamzat and why people buy the hype behind him is because he has looked great against lesser competition. What has happened when he has fought names like Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman, who are smaller guys for the division? He looked decent against Gilbert, but you could argue Gilbert won, and if it went a full 5 rounds, he would have lost. He fought Usman off the couch, a week in advance notice for the fight, Gilbert, and if it went 5, he would have won too.
He beat Gilbert, first of all. I saw that whole fight.
Close.
He beat Gilbert.
Close.
He beat him. If you think Dricus beat Sean Strickland, then Khamzat whooped Gilbert Burns. So, and then what was the other one?
I don't know about that.
Usman?
Damn, we gotta debate that too eventually.
You said
Usman
was the other one you said?
Yes.
Okay, but he beat. I thought he beat Usman. You don't think it was definitely closer than the Burns fight, but you don't think he beat Usman?
I guess my argument would be that it was close. It could have went either way, but he's struggling against an older Usman that has back-to-back losses and a Gilbert Burns who's a 170 pounder, not even at 185.
Hold on, wait a second. Do you think that Leon Edwards is one of the greatest middleweights in UFC history? I'm sorry, not middleweights, welterweights.
I do.
You think he is? Okay.
Yes.
So Usman lost to, in your opinion, one of the best welterweights in UFC history, if not the best, right?
One of the best, yes.
Okay, so it would be what? It'd be him, Usman, and GSP, right? Those are your three?
Those are my guys, yes.
Okay, those are the three. Okay. So Khamzat beats one of the best, if not the best, welterweight in UFC history in a close fight.
Yes, but it was close. But they fought at 185 though.
Yeah, but Usman's huge.
He's big. Yeah, he's big for the division. Fair enough. He's big for 170.
I think Usman would be fine at middleweight, first of all, and he proved that against Khamzat, because Khamzat's one of the best middleweights in the UFC. So I don't see how.
How do we know? How do we know that?
Listen, have him fight Dricus, and you will see what I'm talking about, because I get what you're saying. Like, okay, I'm not trying to hype him up or nothing, but I guess I am. I guess I am hyping him, actually. I am hyping him up because
you're a closet fan. You have a poster right behind you wherever you're at of Khamzat Chimaev. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And the caption on it says, "I smashed them all" or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's obvious. It's apparent. You love Khamzat. You're his biggest fan.
Again, you saw the Dricus fight, and you think that Dricus is gonna stay champion? I mean, come on, be real.
Oh, okay. So, Dan, there's plenty to talk about. Thank you, Joe, for calling, because this conversation is getting interesting. See, the thing with Dricus and Sean Strickland, right? Sean Strickland, at the end of the day, is one of the hardest guys to hit if you exclude the Pereira fight. So the reason why it looked ugly, I think, is because I think that's great credit to Sean Strickland is is that good at, defending his reflexes, his boxing. Hamza is going to be there to be hit. Barely any head movement. Gilbert Burns was landing at will. So yeah, Dricus didn't have a pretty fight, a pretty win, but he won nonetheless. Again, he's fighting he beat oh my God, I don't know how I even didn't bring this up. He beat Robert Whittaker, one of the best middleweights to ever do it, and finished him in the second round.
Who's on the decline? Robert Whittaker's on the decline. Come on.
What makes him on the decline? I think it would be
the fact that he lost to Dricus. That's how we know he's on the decline.
Wow. Listen, the guy was beating everybody until Adesanya and until Dricus.
And just as a side note, I'm one of the ones. Drew is not on my side when it comes to his opinion, but I firmly believe Yoel Romero.
That might be a good thing for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I firmly believe Yoel Romero beat Whittaker the second time they fought, like cleanly, easily.
Right. You could also argue too that he lost a lot in those fights, so that will prove your point that he's declining as of now.
Sure, that's what I'm saying. So Whittaker is declining. That's what I believe. So Whittaker's declining. Dricus is on steroids, and he barely beat Sean Strickland. If you think he beat him, I don't know why. Why is the UFC so opposed to giving ties out? I don't get it. I don't understand why they would give him the nod over Sean Strickland. I just don't get it. Anyway, my point is that Dricus it doesn't look good, and if you think he looks good, then Miller, come on. You don't think he looks good.
I think it was.
I know you don't.
No, I do. I think it was a good. Sorry about the phone ringing in the background. Chat. I put it on Do Not Disturb, and then I'll answer the voicemail. The more I think about it, Joe, you might hate me on this one. I thought he looked great.
You think he looked great?
I think he looked
getting
great.
His eyeball punched in the first round. He thought he looked great.
Yes, because what that told me is that he could weather the storm. He could go through adversity, unlike Hamza Chimaev, that if he has to breathe for 30 seconds past the third round, he might not make it. Again, Hamza, the more I think about it, I feel strongly about this. Extremely overhyped. Hasn't beat any 185er that's relevant. Beat Usman coming off the couch. When we have to go as far as one of his best wins was Gerald Meerschaert, that's when I know this guy might be all hype. And he, you know what might happen to him?
Best win. I'm saying that.
Most impressive though. I'm just saying, like, right. What might happen to him is probably what happened to Mike Malott and with Neil Magny. But the Neil Magny in this case is going to be either a Dricus, is going to be either a Whittaker, it might be Adesanya. Adesanya beats Hamza Chimaev right now.
Okay, but Adesanya's a better fighter than Dricus.
That's tough.
Come on, Miller, will you stop?
Are you basing this off a close fight against Sean Strickland?
I'm talking about with your eyeballs. You watched them fight. Mm-hmm. You watching two dudes fight, and you're like, hold on a second. This dude is nice. This dude's movement is elite. His this is elite. His fight IQ, whatever. This dude's over here throwing wild haymakers and hoping to get you to the ground. You know, I mean, you don't think that Adesanya's a better fighter overall than Dricus.
I think they're different fighters.
I'm not saying there's no chance that he wins a fight against Adesanya. I'm saying that you don't see that Vegas would probably give the edge to Izzy in a.
No, I would say Vegas would give the odds. Maybe they would favor Adesanya. I believe also. I believe styles make fights, and that's something you might be overlooking. Where does Dricus make it look ugly? Yes, but all right. So let's see if we can find some middle ground. Is Dricus more well-rounded than Adesanya?
I guess he's more well-rounded. I guess, right. But I think that Izzy's on. It just depends on. Okay, I'm talking about Israel Adesanya in his prime. That's what I'm thinking of. Like when I'm naming all these fighters, we're talking about on their best day. So I'm thinking about Dricus on his best day, Izzy on his best day, Sean Strickland on his best day, Hamza on his best day, and I'm saying to you that Izzy on his best day, his striking is at least double or triple the striking of Dricus. So does that make up for the ground game? Maybe it does. So you say he's more well-rounded. guess he has a more well-rounded game, but I think he's really lacking in the striking department. Again, on their best day, I'm not looking at Izzy's last fight, which
Oh.
he didn't look that good at all. I'm just looking on their best day.
I think there's an elephant in the room, or you're missing the forest for the trees as far as look how ugly or how bad Adesanya looked against Sean Strickland. Is because Strickland makes those fights happen. He makes himself hard to hit. So Drickus, you might think, oh, he doesn't make it pretty, or he might not be as good. Granted, Adesanya on his best day in his prime, is that better than Drickus in his prime? Maybe, but we haven't seen Drickus at his best. He's just arrived. And at the end of the day, what we get is Drickus now versus Adesanya now. And all I'm saying is Adesanya might be a little bit easier to bully. I might even pick Adesanya over Drickus. I'm not sure. All I'm saying is that
Of course you would.
All I'm saying is one thing I do know right now is that Drickus and Adesanya are both better than Khamzat Chimaev.
Say that again.
All I know right now that I feel certain in saying is that Drickus and Adesanya are both better than Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev is simply overhyped, and he's not as good as we might imagine. Chris Faith, I know you left me a voicemail. I'll make sure I check that right after this call. But yes, what do you say to that? Khamzat is overhyped.
Say that Khamzat has beaten better competition than Drickus. Maybe not in the middleweight division, but like all around.
No, absolutely not. He hasn't beat a Robert Whittaker.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely. He hasn't beat a Robert Whittaker.
Usman's better than Robert Whittaker, in my opinion.
Not after he lost to Leon twice. He wasn't the same Usman.
But you think Leon's the best welterweight in UFC history? So
no, I would say GSP is.
Usman really beat Leon Edwards. If we're being real, that first fight, that whole fight, Leon Edwards was getting dogged, and he lost at the very end. Okay, so that happens. Okay, cool. Second fight,
two things: elevation, and at the end of the day, he found the kick.
Yeah, no, of course, and it was one of the best knockouts in UFC history. I'm not saying anything bad about Leon. I'm just saying to you that Usman is still nice. He's that good.
Was he that good? Was he that good after those fights, though? Is my argument. You have to take into account
that Leon is better than him. You think?
I do think right now when they fought, yeah, Leon is better than Usman. What I'm saying though is Usman against Khamzat Chimaev was not the same Usman that fought Leon.
Listen, let's just get this Drickus versus Khamzat fighting, because this is. It won't even happen. Actually, so Drickus is fighting Adesanya, right? Is that in stone?
Nothing is in stone. That's what's crazy.
Nothing is in stone.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, nothing is written. But I think that to Bo Nichols' point, Bo Nichols was saying that the next time Khamzat fights, it will potentially be for the title. That might be the smartest move the UFC has. They make, because there's not much juice left. There's not much lemon left in, to make lemonade. There's not much more you could squeeze out of this lemon, that being Khamzat Chimaev. He's not as good as people have imagined, and if you don't give him the title shot now, he'll potentially lose against anybody in the top 5.
What's Khamzat's record in the UFC?
Khamzat is in the UFC. Give me 1 second. He is he's 13-0 in MMA, but in the UFC he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's 7-0, and we could only name like 2 guys that he has beaten that are decent.
So he's 7-0.
Or yes.
And he's beaten champs and perennial contenders.
He's being a champ, a former champ. He didn't beat him when, right?
One of the best champs in UFC history was gonna beat GSP's record
at a different weight class, and he's lost.
But he's huge.
2 fights before that.
Nice. He's still nice.
That's like me saying I scored against Jordan right now. Yeah, because he's 55 years old or 60, whatever he is. But if I were to play him in his prime, I'm just saying like if someone beats Jordan right now that has no weight as compared to beating him in his prime, the same thing with Usman.
Hold on. Volk showed us that given enough time, those guys, well, Usman's bigger, way bigger than Volk is at 145. I would say Usman's way bigger than 170. He probably walks around 205.
I know what you mean.
210.
Gotcha,
You
like
get what I'm saying? Okay,
relatively,
so-
right. Yeah.
Right. So Usman is still dropping probably like 20, 25 pounds to get to that 185. So he that made us huge. Anyway, I'm saying that Volkanovski showed us that
Right.
a guy can go up if he's that nice, can go up and compete with the very best, which he did against Islam. I thought he won the fight. So I'm saying to you that Usman, just because Hamza fought him at 185, Usman is that nice. Usman is beating most 185ers. Is he not?
Joe,
I think he beats Sean Strickland. I think Usman beats Sean Strickland. I believe that.
You gave me an idea. I might start a Patreon simply because there's fans like you that need education, and I might start classes. I'm dead serious. Like we might, because there's one simple factor that you're missing with this point. Is that yes, Volk went up, but Volk was coming off wins. It was coming off dominance. Usman was coming off back-to-back losses. That is the big factor. It is not the same. Volkanovski going up and losing is not the same as Usman losing, because Volkanovski, not only did he go up, and then in that first fight against Islam Makhachev, it was extremely close. Both fights are completely different both examples are completely different, because Usman came off back-to-back losses, one of them being a head kick knockout that he didn't remember what happened till he was in the ambulance. Poor guy. Which, listen, also too, to be honest, Joe, I called that Leon would win both of those fights. I'm just throwing that out there for you. You know what I mean? So
listen, but Hamza, I truly believe this. I don't think he's really. I think he's trying to I think he was trying to knock Gilbert Burns out. He wasn't really fighting him smart. Like, anyone who watched that fight was like, oh, Hamza's just going in there to bang with him. Because Hamza, if he wanted to, he could. He just doesn't want a boring fight where he just wrestles. I believe he wants to be an exciting fighter. You don't see that with him? Like, he has the wrestling in the bag. You don't think he has? He can wrestle anybody in 185 and 170. You don't think he's?
Nope.
Wow. That's,
you know why?
Believe, wait. Let me finish this point, then you can counter. Remember what you're going to say. I fully believe that if Hamza wanted to wrestle and be a Habib or be a whatever, just a straight wrestler, I think he could wrestle any one of those dudes to the ground and pound every single one of them. I truly believe that. I think that he wants to make a statement and say, no, I'm here to knock dudes out, and I'm here to do it every single way. I want to be the best fighter, in the UFC. But I believe his wrestling is way better than Dricus. Like, way better. I believe that.
When you said, sorry, and I have to, when you said that he chose to bang with Gilbert Burns, no, that's incorrect. The only reason why he chose to stand in the fire and trade is because he couldn't take Gilbert Burns down. Because when he started fighting the top of the division, it wasn't the same. He couldn't just bulldoze like he did against Li Jingliang or Gerald Meerschaert. I know it might be startling, but he's just not who we thought he was. You know what I mean?
I firmly disagree with you. Firmly disagree with you.
It's a good adjective.
And the fact that he goes to 170, 185, 170, 185, I think that's so cool. I love that.
Hamza, he'll never be back at 170 in my humble opinion.
I know, but just when he was coming up, I just loved that he was doing it. That was so cool.
I give him credit for the run that he had. It is I'll say this about Hamza, if we could give him any compliments, it is one of the most incredible runs I've ever seen in a year span. When he fought like 3 back-to-back fights like months apart. One of the coolest moments in history. Yeah, it was in 2020. He fought July 15th, then July 25th, then September 19th. Back-to-back. Crazy. One of the coolest runs. But
okay, so I disagree with you. I disagree with you on this. This is my last point.
Okay.
And I want to end it with this. Charles Oliveira will be the champion again.
This is disgusting. This is disgusting.
Okay, Charles Oliveira, did you hear what I said? Will be the champion again. Do I need to say it again? So I just want to say that. And if you want to talk about runs, UFC runs, besides Conor McGregor, Charles Oliveira, and Charles Oliveira might even have the best run in UFC history. It's between him and Conor. Them two have the best runs in UFC history, not even close. And Charles Oliveira, do Bronx, will be the champion again. I just want to say that.
You were doing great. Yes, Oliveira has one of the most incredible runs in UFC history. As far as him being champ, I would even go as far as to say, I hope you're right. I would love for that to happen. But with guys like Islam Makhachev being the champ and then Arman Tsarukyan knocking on the door, and Tsarukyan is fighting Charles Oliveira next, he's not even getting the immediate title rematch. Speaking of Oliveira, I'm scared for him. I don't know who wins between Tsarukyan and Oliveira. I hope you're right, Joe. And what scares me is that you're usually not correct, and that's what scares me. So your pick just makes me a little bit scared. Any last thoughts?
Nope, that's it. Charles gonna be the champion again. I can't wait to see it. That brother's the truth. And love the channel. Love your content, Miller.
No, I appreciate the call. Hamzat is overhyped. Later.
Yep. No, he's not fine.
There you have it, guys. Great call. Lengthy call. So sorry about that. But not so sorry, because it was a good conversation, and that's what we try to have here on the channel. #1 commentary channel on YouTube. We have a voicemail to play, but I have plenty of messages to read before we get to that. So I'm sorry. Let me catch up with what is Stream Elements doing? I don't know why it deleted Danny Burns' messages. I'm sorry, but I will read them out because that's just horrible. Danny Burns said, yes, overhyped, speaking about Hamzat. I don't know what he was talking about. Beat Leon. Hollywood Hito says Hamzat dogs Izzy. He's incorrect. Chris Faith says George St. Pierre in his prime can dismantle Leon Edwards. I don't know about that. It will be close. GSP was special. I think he's the greatest welterweight of all time. 1 week training camp for Usman too, Mike Dornan says. Exactly. People miss these factors, and that he's not a natural 185 pounder. And he came off the couch after 2 losses. And Hamzat, if he would have had to go to rounds 4 and 5, I think we could all agree he would not have been able to survive for the 4th and 5th round. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's keep catching up with chat. Probably because of his last message. What did he say? He likes some big black mama, says Danny Burns. I don't know, but it was probably letting you with that pause. Yo, sorry I'm late. Beta Quest, welcome to the stream with the gold glove and the title. 267-545-8096. Is Hamzat overhyped? I should have wrote that on the title. I think Ilya shows a new level versus Volk. I agree as well too, Thomas. We'll talk about that in a second. I was giving you on Discord and then missed half the stream, says Beta. I mean, no one can quite do it like you, I guess, huh, Beta? Being so intelligent. Beta, much love to you, man. The DC Fight Club member with the gold glove and the man that I have taught so much about fighting towards. Sorry, he thought I myself respect Islam, but his era will end soon. The new era of Arman Tsarukyan will rise. That's a bold claim. In my opinion, Arman is the man. He might be the man to do it against Islam, but he has to get past Charles Oliveira first. And Oliveira is one of those wild cards that could potentially pull it off. Will I gamble on that? Probably not. Coming off a KO loss, I think Alex will be more cautionary like Usman after his KO loss to Leon. We'll talk about that right after this voicemail that we're going to play next, Thomas. So stay tuned. My predictions of new UFC champions of the end of 2024, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Tom Aspinall, and Arman Tsarukyan. So those are both. Damn, Shavkat Rakhmonov, I don't know if Shavkat beats Leon. I'm not so confident in that. Islam already beat him, and he'll do it again. It was when Arman was like 22, 23. It was early in his career. Let's get to the first voicemail of the afternoon.
Hey, what's up, MillerDC? This is the People's Champ, Chris Faith talking. I know there's a UFC event going on.
The People's Champ. Welcome, Chris Faith. Let's get right back to the voicemail. No problem. Thank you so much, sweetie. Let's get right back
this
to it.
Saturday, which is Roman. I forgot his last name. He's Roman Dolan. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But, he's a middleweight fighter from Georgia.
Now, when you called, I don't know where you were located, but it does sound a little bit muffled. But let's see. I'll try to reiterate in case people miss it.
Fighting the French-Russian guy. I'm going for that guy. Also, the month of February is going to be a lot of fights. So besides the one coming this Saturday, there's Volkanovski versus Topuria. And there is on that same day, Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury. Oh, man.
Wow.
And 1 week after that fight is UFC event in Mexico, which is Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Moreno Part 2.
Another big fight.
Because I think he's going to win, but I'm not rooting for him if he fights in Georgia again. On that same night, the UFC event in Mexico, it's going to be PFL versus Bellator. Oh, that fight's going to be big. Very big.
Thank you for the call, Chris, updating us on the future events that are coming by. So I'm excited for all the events that you that was aforementioned. So I hope that we can cover them all. The Tyson Fury fight versus Usyk, I haven't been that invested in boxing as far as following it, but that's one that I'm invested in. I truly can't wait to see what happens between Usyk and Fury. I would like to see Usyk beat Fury, but he might be a bit too small. Is my fear. 267-545-8096 if you want to talk about whether we see Conor versus Chandler at UFC 300, who wins between Volk and Topuria, is Hamza overhyped, and more. Beta, you've been missing streams like crazy lately. Damn, calling him out. That's my guy, man. Wild card for sure. Exactly. Oliveira is one of those that, like, he could look great or he could look horrible, and you don't know how to call it. And it scares me because, again, a wild card. I think that's one of the best ways to describe him. On a good day, if he gets his offense going, I think he's one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC as we speak right now, speaking of Oliveira. But Arman Tsarukyan is so technical, fundamental, that he might run into the same problems with Arman that he did with Islam. Islam being composed, not overexerting himself. Arman might do the same thing, and if Oliveira just can't get his offense going and then gets caught, it worries me a bit. That was 2019, you mean, but time has changed. This isn't 2019. This is 2024. Right, it was roughly 5 years ago. Arman Tsarukyan has evolved. Good point. People forget the champ got already, says Danny Burns. So it's one of those things where we are headed into a future where I think there's a lot of fighters, and that might be one of my next videos as well too. I think we're going to talk about that tonight. Fighters that are just declining and will not be the same anymore. Because we've seen so many changing of the guards as far as the titles. Aljo lost to Sean O'Malley. Adesanya lost to Strickland. Then Strickland lost to Dricus. Usman lost to Leon. Pereira beats Hiri. It has just been over and over again that champions have been losing their titles and the change of guards have been happening over and over again. And I think the next changing of the guard is and will be in this division right here, guys. Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Let's talk about it.
You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers.
Ilia Topuria versus Volkanovski, 267-545-8096. Let's talk about this topic just for a bit, guys. They will be fighting at UFC 298, the next pay-per-view. And we try to make bold claims and stick to our guns, and we have fun with it. But we also try to be transparent and honest in our assumptions. And at the end of the day, this is an assumption, but sometimes our assumptions are proven to be true because we have some knowledge behind or previous historical knowledge that leads us to a safe assumption. I think a safe assumption might be, as crazy as this may sound, a safe assumption is, and a prediction is, that Topuria beats Volkanovski. Now, would he have beat Volkanovski prior to the Volkanovski that fought Islam Makhachev? Perhaps no. Perhaps no. I think Volkanovski, again, one of the most dominant champions, just like Usman. But there comes a time where you get figured out. There comes a time where you just might be milliseconds slower or not as sharp as you were once before. And it shows in a fight, and for that very reason, you don't maintain and hold the title. I think the fight that happens for Volkanovski against, or the fight that becomes evident, and Volkanovski doesn't retain his title, even though at one point it seemed like he would never lose a title. I think that fight happens against Ilia Topuria. I think Ilia Topuria is at the opportune time in his career that he rises to the occasion, that he fights Volkanovski, and that he perhaps shocks the masses. and he gets a job done, and he is and new. And we got to talk about their previous wins and why we feel that way. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But I wanted to quickly look at early odds for Volkanovski and Topuria. And according to oddshark.com, which is surprising to me because prior to Volkanovski losing to Islam Makhachev by head kick knockout, if that fight didn't happen, let's say he even beat Islam, the odds wouldn't be this close. They have Volkanovski at a -175, Topuria at a +150. If it were prior to him being knocked out, I truly do believe it would have been something close to a -250, -275, maybe +250, +225 for Topuria. It would have been something along those lines. I think the increments of numbers or like would have been something near that. But is it a little bit of recency bias? Perhaps. Could Volkanovski perhaps come back against Topuria and look incredible? Absolutely. I won't deny that. But we have seen this story being played before where a fighter doesn't look all that great, you know, a former champion, and then they fight one more time and they're just not the same. And I think that happens against Topuria. Let's read a couple messages. I'm going to be waiting and watching the fight UFC 298 Usyk versus. Let's go. And you could join us in watching those as well too, because we have the best community, Chris Faith, and he says it sucks there was no UFC. This I know it. I hate when there's a week that there's no fights. Credit to the UFC for being so consistent. Never seen Alias, so no comment. Oh man, I mean, he beat Bryce Mitchell where Bryce Mitchell was supposed to out-grapple him. He beat Josh Emmett, and he just looks like a solid fighter that could win in a multitude of ways. Now, granted, I guess one of the best arguments that you could have is that for Volkanovski defenders is that that's all good and well, that Topuria has looked great, but he hasn't fought anyone in the skill level of Volkanovski. To that, I say I would agree. That's one of the best arguments, and we don't know. The names that he has beaten, Damon Jackson, Ryan Hall, Jai Herbert, Bryce Mitchell, Josh Emmett, none of these guys amount to as solid of a fighter that is Alexander Volkanovski, and that does worry me. That does worry me a bit. But at the same time, Volkanovski is 1-2 in his last 3. Granted, the first fight was close against Islam Makhachev. He's been around for quite some time. He's been holding the title since 2019. Everything that's good, or everything at least, has an end. And there's a time where you got to close the book. I'm not saying you got to close the book as far as he's still going to be competitive. He's still going to be a solid fighter. But a title reign is bound to end. And maybe Khabib had it right in leaving at the right time. Volkanovski strikes me as one of those fighters that might stick around longer than he maybe should have. And a reason why I feel that way is because you heard him talk about taking the Islam Makhachev fight on short notice because and he was falling into a sort of depression because if he's not fighting, he's sort of, you know, depressed and or sad, and I'm sorry if I paraphrase that a little bit incorrectly, but all that to say is that he might be one of those Tony Fergusons that just can't stop fighting, and he may be in the company of fighters, and most of them are, where you don't retire from the sport retires you. That might be a little bit extreme. Fair enough. And he is a solid fighter. And he perhaps, we might have to eat our words that I say that Topuria wins and Topuria perhaps doesn't. But I think his reign comes to an end February 17th as far as being a champion. There might be a time where he retains the title or gets the title back, fair enough, and he'll truly have an impressive story. And you could even say, this is all to say, with all the criticism that we have shared, he still might be the greatest featherweight of all time. I might want to give that title to Jose Aldo. That is tough to say, but you might have to say that Volkanovski is the greatest featherweight of all time. Fair enough. But that doesn't mean that he keeps the title forever. But that doesn't mean he keeps the title forever, and we don't know who does it. I'm gonna bank on Topuria. It is a little bit of a reach. And which is another crazy topic, if Topuria beats Volkanovski, oddly enough, that might be the opening. That might be the door unlocked for Max Holloway to eventually be champion. Because if Volkanovski's champion, I think it's fair to say we don't want to see Max Holloway fight for the title again. Let's catch up with chat in 1 second. Let me scroll up a bit here. I really like Ilya, says Beta Quest. My only worry is he's never really gone 25, right? I believe you are correct in your assumption. Let's quickly look at least in the UFC, maybe prior to that, perhaps. But when it comes to the UFC, yes, a full 3-round fight against Yusuf, and then the following 2 fights, first round, then 2 rounds. Oh, against against Josh Emmett, it was a 5-round fight. I remember he beat him clearly, decisively, but they went the full 5. But that's Josh Emmett. A full 5 rounds with Josh Emmett is way different than having to fight a pace against Volkanovski for a full 5 rounds. That is solid. Emmett really didn't have much to offer because he couldn't find that overhand right to land. That's always my worry with challengers who get a shot before they ever headlined a night. He also headlined that night against Emmett as well too, but that was the only time that he did. I think Leon beats Shavkat, Beta Quest, not only because I think people are underestimating Leon, but because, yes, it might be a little bit too early. He struggled against Jeff Neal, and I think that's somewhat of a red flag. He's still a dominant fighter. He's still a solid fighter, but I don't know. But people that are banking on Shavkat dominating Leon, I would just say pump the brakes a bit. Let's catch up with chat. Don't say that, Beta Quest. Don't say that, says Chris Faith. He will fight for the title. Kobe Effington is done, and I don't want to hear nobody saying Kobe needs one more like F no. You know who would love for Kobe Covington to get a shot again? Beta Quest. I'm joking, by the way, too. I think it's fair to say me and Beta don't agree on much, that being politics or fighters, maybe. But I think we both agree on Kobe Covington and how he should never sniff the title ever again. Chris, I 1,000% believe he deserves a shot after whoever they choose for Leon next. But the Jeff Neal fight, great minds think alike, came down to the wire and he looked like he was gassing. He did. And if he didn't get that submission, it could have got scary if they were just striking. And that was a 3-round fight. So imagine a 5-round fight with someone as composed as Leon Edwards. Let's continue. Meaning Shav needs 5, says Danny Burns. Covington definitely didn't deserve to even smell. We're using the same words. Like, he shouldn't even sniff with it. Bro, me and Beta could be so close in certain predictions and thoughts, and then we could be so divided in other instances. Is actually crazy. We've been rocking out with each other for a while. I wholeheartedly agree, Chris. Doesn't he though, Danny? Well, listen, Beta Quest, a lot of people thought he was going to lose against Thompson, and I never doubted Rachmanov, and my prediction came true. Yes, 5. You're wrong. As usual, I'm 100% in 2024. I mean, we've only been a month in, not even. Greatest featherweight of all time is Max Holloway. I don't care, says Joe De Jesus. I picked Shavkat in the Wonder Boy fight. That should have been obvious. Stephen Wonder Boy Thompson being like 40 years old. 1 second. That's my dryer and my cue that we are in past the midway point of the stream. Consider becoming a member today, by the way, too. Helps the channel out immensely. Click the link, hit the join button. Helps the channel out monetarily. If you can't, you simply being here and commenting and enjoying the show helps enough. But if you want to support the channel monetarily, consider becoming a member today. Okay, if he doesn't deserve a title shot, then he deserves to fight Usman. But Usman, fair enough. I don't know if Usman will take that fight, but he looked good against Hamza. Granted, Hamza is overrated. Anyways, is completely scared to fight Shavkat Rachmanov because of one guy controlling him, a.k.a. Ali Abdullah Sleaze, they call him sometimes. He got too many short fights. He needs 5 mentally to not think he can do 5. The Wonder Boy fans were blasting me on my, wow, really? They were saying that Wonder Boy wins? That's crazy. Leon has lack of output. That worries me a little bit, and it frustrates me because there's IQ moments that he has made mistakes, and some of them were evident against Covington, where he went for certain submissions, and he could have. I thought he was dominating Covington so much that he could have pulled on the trigger a bit more and tried to. I think the opportunity maybe to even knock out Covington presented itself a few times back in 1987. That's not a bad fight to make, Chris. I'm ready for Usman to fight the new up and comers. And credit to him for fighting Hamza Shemaev a week away off the couch at 185. So he not only took a short notice fight, he also went up in weight at 185. And Hamza still struggled. And if that fight would have went, man, Hamza might be one of the luckiest fighters in the world, because if that fight were 5 rounds against either Gilbert Burns or Usman, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think he loses those 2 fights if they were 5-round fights. That guy might have a cardio issue. That being of Hamza. And it could be, granted, it could be like a Conor thing. He's so explosive in the early rounds, and he's special in that sense. But because of that, if he doesn't finish the job early, like Conor did against Jose Aldo, if he has to go to the later rounds like he did against Khabib and like he did against Nate Diaz, he might struggle. I think that's fair to say. Yes, me too. But Ali Abdelaziz, I don't know. Is it Khabib's fault? No, Covington's fault that I want to say Abdullah Sleaze. And that's freaking Covington's fault. A.K.A. Usman manager will tell him, A.K.A. Usman, don't do it. Like, what the F? That might potentially be the case. 267-545-8096 if you want to share your thoughts on any other fights that we are talking about today. It has been a great conversation thus far. Nonetheless, we've been doing this every Monday, and the numbers are growing. So once again, thank you guys for the ongoing support. We are truly killing the game. And I didn't even realize we were going live at the same time as MMA Hour, which is pretty crazy. And we still get decent numbers. So thank you, Danny Burns, for making me realize that. We're similar in thought, but I'm usually right, where you're just Miller. The reason why I haven't been live on Twitch, to be quite honest, and I feel like I owe you this explanation, Beta Quest, is because I didn't buy the pay-per-view fight between Strickland and Drickus, so I need it to become a free fight so then we can watch it. But if you have a good copy that we could watch on Twitch, let me know and we'll do that. By the way, self-incriminating myself over here. But yes. And the 100% thing was from Miller's. I believe strongly 1,000% believe Usman versus Rakhmonov is the next fight to make. But then again, it's Ali Abdelaziz, which is why you should come over to the proletarian dark side. Listen, I be thinking about it sometimes, man. Me and Hito be talking about it, and that video was crazy as far as the way this platform is structured, as far as if you want to succeed, which goes to show that they don't prioritize creativity, or maybe they do, but at the end of the day, you become it becomes like that capitalist machine that maybe doesn't lead to creativity and doesn't even lead to the best product. I'm just throwing that out there, but maybe that might be a conversation for another day. Before we conclude today's show that has almost been an hour, but we have had a lot of time, we already talked about Volkanovski reign potentially being over. As far as Strickland being on 299, is that needed? Is that needed in order for this card? Because I could argue that card is already stacked. I could argue that perhaps it does well without him, but there have been rumors. You see, Nina Drama has talked about Sean Strickland coming back in March. Some people think that's for something other than fighting. But UFC 299, real quickly, topic at hand is Sean O'Malley versus Vera. I love the fight. Now, does Vera deserve the title shot before Corey Sandhagen? No, right? But that's something that has to be addressed nonetheless. It goes back to my point that Hamzat might be getting the title shot because he has a big name, but not necessarily because he deserves it. Marlon Vera won a close fight against Pedro Munoz, loses to Corey Sandhagen, and now he's fighting for the title. Do rankings even matter? I'm sorry, just have to bring in that that topic of discussion. Oh yeah, just join Discord General, and I will join. If I see your name pop up in there, then unless you want to call in, let me actually open up the lines, but not. Either way is fine. You let me know. You can call in or you can join Discord, whatever you want. With all that being said, we look at the card, UFC 299. Does Strickland joining that card means that maybe O'Malley is not the name that we foresaw or that we believe will be as great as it is? Is he overhyped? Is his demographic, like Topuria said, a bunch of 16-year-olds that don't buy pay-per-views? Is that true? Nonetheless, a stacked card. O'Malley versus Vera. Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis is a great card. Or I'm sorry, a great fight. I would agree. And credit to Poirier because people were saying he doesn't fight up-and-comers. Now he's fighting Benoit. Chukagian versus Macy Barber. We have Curtis Blades versus Jalton Almeida. Strickland being on this fight or on this card will be amazing. And it might take away from 300, but what if it's Strickland versus Chimaev? Would be interesting. Let me see what would be at the end of the day interesting. You have Gamrot versus RDA, which I think is a good fight. Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips, solid fighter as well too. Pedro Munoz, we'll see how he deals with him. Then Pedro Munoz fought he'll be fighting Kyler Phillips. He also fought Sean O'Malley. He also fought Cheeto Vera. It's like, I guess they think of him as a gatekeeper, maybe, perhaps. You have Murphy versus Silva. A solid card. And if Strickland comes back in March, why not stack the card even some more? And of course you could call in live, man, anytime, Hito. Voicemail left. I don't have a voicemail. Let me I had to refresh. I don't know why. Usually it just pops up. Let me actually play your voicemail first. And then if you want to call in, feel free to do so. I had to refresh my page in order for that to show.
It's Hollywood Hito. I just want to say, 2024 is my year. I'm 100% so far. Miller, you're not. And I'm going to be right. Volk is going to win. You guys are going to realize Volk is really that guy. You're taking one L.
Hito says that, you guys have to realize as if what he's saying is a fact. I mean, we taught him everything he knows about fighting. Nonetheless.
A new young GOAT. It is what it is. He went up a weight. He got slipped one short notice. When he had training, he gave that guy some work. Some people said it was debatable. So Volk's going to take that W easy. You guys are going to look silly again. That's really it. That's all I got.
Let me rewind that a bit just to see one point that he said.
A new young GOAT. It is what it is. He went up a weight. He got slipped one short notice. When he had training, he gave that guy some work. Some people said it was debatable. So Volk's going to take that W easy. You guys are going to look silly again. That's really it.
We're gonna look silly again. Interesting. We're gonna look silly again. Let me see if I could find it. And damn it, I am mad at myself because I need to save this on my desktop. I have it on my phone, and the joke isn't worth losing. Plenty of time now, is it? Damn it! You are so lucky. You are so lucky. Is it this right here? You're so lucky. Basically, I was going to show, we're going to look silly, and then I was going to show the picture of Hito rooting for Ryan Garcia in a Ryan Garcia outfit when he was fighting Gervonta Davis. But nonetheless, I feel that I will save that to my desktop just to remind Hito of how far he has come. Not Marks himself, just a fan, Joe. Who is this guy, Karl Marx? Wait, let me go back. How did we get on Karl Marx? Proletarian Dark Side with the crown face, which is why you should, who is this guy? Yo, can I call in live? Not Marks himself, just a fan, Joe. That boy Mark slept on his parents' couch while he wrote that gibberish he called a manifesto. He said couch, LOL, floor. Oh, we're getting I love that we're getting political sometimes in certain topics. And when we make YouTube full-time, which will eventually happen, guys, when that happens, we will also start another channel and have some political, a secondary political channel where we talk about conspiracies, like whether Michelle is a man, you know who I'm talking about, and more. And then I'll get in my back some more. Hito calling in. Let's see what he has to say.
Hollywood Hito.
To accept.
Hollywood, welcome to the stream.
All right, it's conspiracy time.
Oh boy.
So
what's up, Chad Rose?
So they're gonna want to put Sean Strickland in on 299 if they can. If he really genuinely is coming back 2024 or March 2024, they're gonna want to put him on there for the simple reason to get the pay-per-view numbers up and to try to make it seem like it was O'Malley. Dana's little Nelk boy. O'Malley. And let me tell you. And let me tell you something, this is why it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire because the press conference is going to show who's selling the fight. So Dana's going to try to pump and dump Sean O'Malley, but it's not going to work. Everybody's going to be talking about Sean Strickland, and he's going to be the real reason why 299 would sell crazy. It's probably going to sell pretty good. But that press conference with a Sean Strickland on it, it's going to backfire on Dana, I tell you.
George, just quick question, just to make my point. How long have I known you?
Whole government out there, huh? That's what we doing?
Oh, my bad. Hollywood. Whole government, I said his first name. Quick question. How long have I known you?
For a couple years now. Since
Like, let's
the
say
year your
3,
daughter
right?
was born. 3 years.
Okay, so 3 years. It has been 3 years since I've known you, and this is by far your best take yet. Granted, I don't have much to work with when it comes to your takes, but this is a believable one. Let's talk about it. People have been saying Sean O'Malley is overrated, overhyped. He can't sell tickets. Now, my question to you is, because I truly don't know, and I want to see where you stand. Good take, by the way. If you had to bet, what are the odds that Sean Strickland goes on 299 because of the reasons that you mentioned? Like, do you think it's like pretty much a done deal, we just don't know yet? Or is it just like a 50-50?
I think honestly, I don't think they're going to squeeze him in. I think if Dana was smart, I think the smart move is to really save Sean Strickland for another, like a Kamzat and
What about 300?
like a headline another pay-per-view for them throughout the year. You got to pace it out. You can't do all first quarter. You got to sell fourth quarter too. So I can see, or second and third quarter, whatever, right? So I can see them holding off on Strickland a little bit, but Strickland, you think he's going to want to wait forever? I mean, he's kind of riding high with the headlines. He's got a lot of attention his way. I can see him trying to push 299 or 300. But I would see, if anything, if Strickland was trying to come back sooner, I would see him push him on 299 just for the simple fact to pump up that little nug boy of his that can't sell fight.
Strickland has said before, and a few times, where he fights on short notice, so he gets paid more. He likes getting paid more. They did him dirty by giving him a co-main event of Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva. He's probably still pissed about that. He probably wants to make a good chunk of change. Didn't really take that much damage. 299. Now, let me ask you this: what do you prefer he's on? If you were Dana Blanco, would you put him on 299? Like, as a fan, will you put him on 299? Will you put him on 300, or a headline pay-per-view fight after that?
If I was Dana, I would not. I would see how 300 is responded to, whatever this main event's going to be. So if it's not like if they end up doing Conor and Chandler on 300, it's not enough. I'm going to be honest with you. Conor and Chandler on 300 is right now not enough. So if he does that, and then people don't receive it well for like the headline that everybody's been clamoring for, because they already know they're going to get Conor and Chandler, and people aren't that excited about it right now. I can see him sneaking in Strickland in there like a Kamzat, and then the card goes crazy. So if I was Dana, what Dana might do is try to sneak him in on 299 though, just to kind of, like I said, he's trying to make Sean O'Malley a superstar, and it's just not working. It's not organic, and I'm not buying it, and now you're starting to see everybody else not buying it either. There's a lot of memes going out there. The person that's fighting Wei Li, I don't even know her name. She has 100 followers on Twitter, and there's memes out there, and she still has more of a reach than Sean O'Malley. Like, it's just wow. It is what it is.
Real quick before we continue the discussion, because Joe had a lengthy time. Steve Williams in the channel, and he has a gold glove with the belt, and he's an ongoing supporter, so we got to shout out the homie Steve Williams. Beta Quest with the gold glove and the belt as well too. What's that?
You don't shout me out, man. I got 2 accounts with gloves.
I think you have like a blue glove or something like that. I don't think you're at gold glove belt
status.
I got a gold
glove with a belt. I got a gold glove with a belt. Don't let me go in the
Oh, shout out to the members of the channel, honestly, and thank you, Joe, for considering becoming a member. Joe is about 74 years old, so I don't think he knows how to use the internet. If someone could teach him how to become a member, please let him know in chat. Let's catch up. Steve Williams says conspiracy channel ? Sounds good. Yeah, like. My goal, just real quick, I talk about it with Hollywood a little bit. My goal is to, by the end of the summer, maybe potentially work 3 days a week if I keep growing the channel. The channel numbers have been doing great. We'll make a member video talking about like channel report. We'll talk about that soon. So just wanted to give you guys a quick commercial break. Let's get back to what Hollywood has been saying. He says Yang Jianan has a little bit over 100 followers on Twitter. So the disrespect between China and Zhang Weili and Zhang Jianan. But it brings up a good point that this card might need a little bit of help. Sean O'Malley maybe potentially doesn't sell because he kind of puts the comparison that he still doesn't have a bigger reach, Sean O'Malley, than Yang Jianan, or almost the same. So we'll see what happens for 299. Maybe they add some more fights. I wanted to talk about real quickly, Hollywood, a point that you made that I think we could agree on. We'll see how the chat feels about it. I agree. And UFC 300, if you just add Chandler and McGregor as the main event, that's not enough to hype up this card. Do you believe the general fan feels that way, or do you think in general fans are going to say, "Oh, they saved the card and they're done"? What do you think how the fans are going to receive it?
I think the card is a good card. Don't get me wrong. He didn't put a shitty card. He overhyped it, and he said top to bottom, you're gonna want to tune in, even from like the ESPN fights. You're gonna want to tune in from the prelim to the. And I got 3 fights on there, and they're all women, unfortunately, that I don't want to see. I'll be honest with you. I don't care for it. I don't care for Holly Holm fighting some girl that's probably not gonna make weight. You know what I mean? Like
Hollywood's going crazy.
I 2 girls. I just can't. And then you Andrade and some other girl. Like I don't know these people. I had to ask you who those 2 girls were. I'm sorry. You lied to me already. So you said from top to bottom, I'm going to watch every single one. I don't know half those people and half those women. I know Holly Holm from memes mainly and knocking out Ronda Rousey like 5 years ago or whatever. So it's like, no way. So he overhyped it, and now you're going to have to you have to combat that with coming out with a huge main event. And it's not Conor and Chandler. I'm sorry. It's just not.
I hate to repeat myself. I said it in my previous video or 2 videos ago, but imagine you're getting off of work, because this is my story on how this transpired. Imagine you're getting off work. You hear Dana say, "I have some fight news." It's Friday, so it's payday. You're probably going to get some big news that you can make YouTube content on. And the fight that he announces is Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. I mean, you're absolutely right. He has hyped up the card to then give us names like Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez, to say Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm. It has been a little bit underwhelming. I do like Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. I do like Figueiredo versus Garbrandt. But when you talk about as big of a number as 300, for it's supposed to be the biggest fight card of all time, almost, I guess you could say. And then you have fights like Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm, no disrespect to them, and Andrade and Marina Rodriguez is underwhelming.
All disrespect. I mean, all of it.
Yeah, it's Dana Blanco. I mean, they need to oil him up. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to do something to save this card. And that's why I would agree with you. Adding Chandler versus McGregor is not enough.
One last thing though, they do have another, like, we always talk about like stars rising, and like I know everybody's a fan of like Alex Pereira, but he is becoming very popular in a way that like people aren't realizing. It's not even the fight game, it's the memes. If you go on, anytime you go on Twitter and it's UFC, ever since he got broke up with the girlfriend, ever since he grew back that hair, now there's like a meme with him with an apron on. Like this guy, low key, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or not and taking these weird pictures. He's lighting the internet up, and look, that's bringing a lot of eyes to Alex Pereira too. So he's like another one to watch out, becoming like another little star for the UFC. And granted, he is a star, and people want to see him fight. But I think with what the traction he's got going on with like these memes and stuff, I think is something to keep an eye on as far as like big names coming up in the UFC this year.
This we've had some hot takes today, right? But one of my hot takes that I've been dwelling on and thinking is when it's all said and done, no hate to Adesanya, Pereira might have a more impressive career than Adesanya when it's all said and done. And to take it a step further, people are, I think this is safe to say, who sells better individually? I think Pereira might sell better than Adesanya, and he draws more attraction at least. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
And for sure, and Pereira really has options. I mean, Izzy is being blessed that Dricus won. If Dricus didn't win, he's on the couch.
Yeah.
You know, so he got blessed that Dricus won, number one. And him is weird Twitter post, I you know, like my future is written already, or that stupid stuff he always does. He's so freaking. So then, right. But Alex Pereira has options. Alex can mess around and fight Sean Strickland didn't win, so that was an option at one point if Strickland had won, for him to go back down and fight Strickland. But then you have wait, was it Strickland? Alex Pereira did a meme that it was Dricus. So Alex can fight
yes.
Dricus in revenge for Strickland. My bad, my apologies. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he can do that fight if he wants to, go back down and try to take that belt again, or he's toying around with the whole Tom Aspinall thing. Like, now, will he really do that? No, but it's an option, and it's a mega fight. That's a mega fight if it's Alex and Tom Aspinall. So Alex,
yeah.
genuinely, if he wants to plan out his year correctly, he could make some real. It all depends what he wants. Does he want to stay like a champ for long, or does he want to make a crazy bag? If he wants to make a crazy bag, there's 2 fights right there that will sell crazy crazy pay-per-view numbers.
It is incredible what Pereira has been able to do. I mean, the memes, like you said, it might sound funny, but he right now is making so many headlines, and the man doesn't even speak English. Like, it's just incredible what he has done as far as he's a character. You know, people are interested to see what he does next. People say Shama and don't even know what it means. He could go up in weight to heavyweight. He could go back down to middleweight. He could stay at light heavyweight and defend the title. He's one of the most interesting figures in the UFC right now. I would agree with you. And when it's all said and done, he might have a better career. I guess we'll see. Credit to Adesanya. I don't mean no disrespect. Adesanya has been incredible. It's just he was there a little bit earlier. Pereira just came at the perfect time, and now he has all the opportunities in the world. So we'll see what happens next with Pereira. Any last and final thoughts on all the fight news, Hollywood?
Say what you want. Khamzat dogs Izzy. He dogs him. He's going to that game plan, and when Izzy gets down, he's going to dog Izzy.
That's where
I'm telling you right now. If he dogged Usman is a well more, and I get it off the cows, weight class, whatever. Usman is a well more accomplished wrestler than Izzy. He dogged Usman that first round. He gassed out 2 and 3. You guys can sit there and talk about that all you want. But he will dog Izzy. I stand by that. I can let you guys ragdoll comes out in a lot of things, but not Izzy. Izzy's washed, and he will dog Izzy.
This is where you got some time?
It hit me.
All right, cool. Because we need to talk about it just like with Joe. And guys, thank you so much for coming through and hanging out. Appreciate you guys a ton. When it comes to Khamzat and Adesanya, that's where the disrespect has gone too far. Hollywood, right? He was doing so well. Usually, like back then, he has horrible takes, but we hear him out because he's a good guy. He was doing well. The takes about 300, 299, Sean Strickland, Sean O'Malley. But now he says that Khamzat beats Adesanya. I would go as far as to say if a gun is pointed at my head and I have to gun to my head if I had to pick who would win between Adesanya and Khamzat, I would feel confident in picking Adesanya. I wouldn't be worried. Khamzat is not as good as you think he is. He's not a 185-pounder. He was only good, Hollywood, because he was big for the weight at 170 that he barely made. He won't beat Adesanya. He won't even beat Whitaker. He won't even beat Dricus. He won't even beat Sean Strickland.
Well, I disagree on the Sean Strickland thing, and so does Sean Strickland disagree on that. But
right.
I genuinely think that type of pressure he'll get is down.
What makes you think so confident?
First round Khamzat can get the W. We're talking first round Khamzat, yeah. I don't think he's worried about Izzy's power at all.
And imagine Adesanya starts doing them little leg kicks while stopping takedowns. Khamzat will get flustered. He struggled against Gilbert Burns at 170. We're talking about Adesanya at 185.
Even Joe said it earlier too. He was not trying to take down Gilbert. He was just trying to stand and bang with him.
Yes, he was. He just couldn't. He tried a few times, and Gilbert Burns stuffed the takedowns. He was only dominant because he was fighting lower level competition.
Did he try taking him down first round?
Yes.
No, they were standing and banging, man. Pull it off.
Let's see if we can pull up the stats real quick. Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat stats. Oh, we have to be. I don't know if you could go round by round. Takedown attempts. Where are you? I just got the total. Takedown 0 of 5 for Gilbert Burns. 2 of 3 for Khamzat. I don't know how to find each round. If you know how to do so, let me know. Oh, per round. Right here.
Wait. For you to say that he was trying to take down Gilbert Burns so much, he took him to try to take him down 3 times,
and he realized he couldn't.
What do you mean? He took him down 2 or 3. That's a 66% ratio. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, but he didn't. What did he do with the takedowns? Nothing. For someone that was defending Sean Strickland, saying, "Oh, Dricus didn't do nothing with the takedowns," neither did Khamzat against Gilbert. Gilbert Burns, body legs. These are just strikes. I don't know what round. Okay, so ground strikes. Gilbert Burns has 3 of 3. Khamzat had 10 of 19 on the ground. So I guess he did have a few strikes on the ground. Not much, though. 8 of 9 for Gilbert Burns in round 2, and then both of them had 0 in round number 3. So he must have had a takedown in the first round. And then in the second round, then he cut it in the third round, which goes to my point that the man just simply gasses out. He's not as good. He's at 185 now. Hamza Chimaev at 170 is not the same as Hamza at 185, simply put.
First round, Hamza takes out Izzy. No problem.
Disgusting that you think if he struggled with Gilbert Burns and Usman that he beats Izzy at a higher weight class. Disgusting.
I genuinely mean it.
That's what scares me.
So, in light of all these magical takedowns that you thought, he's saying the ban with Gilbert Burns really went for more takedowns than Hamza. So I don't know what we're talking about here. He was trying to he couldn't take him down. He tried it 3 times, 2 or 3 times he knocked it down. He really wasn't doing it that much. He was standing and banging with Gilbert Burns. He fought a different fight. He won't do that with Izzy. I'm telling you right now. If he ragdolls Usman first round, he's gonna definitely ragdoll Izzy first round. Not a problem.
Israel Adesanya's takedown defense percentage is 77%, and I think the only reason it's not almost at 100 is because that fight against Jan Blachowicz, and that was at light heavyweight. We're talking about a 185er that could fight at light heavyweight. Hamza can't do that. Again.
Yeah, but okay, who is Israel? Is Israel going against a bunch of wrestlers?
To be fair, no. To be fair, no. Maybe Jan Blachowicz is one of the only ones, and he's not even a big wrestler. He's just, a bigger guy at 205. So to be fair, that's a good point.
I mean, just look at his last. I mean, I'm just looking over here as yeah. I mean, I don't see crazy wrestlers in this guy. No wonder his takedown percentage is so good. He's not going against wrestlers.
Joe De Jesus in chat says, "Thank you, Hito. Miller is scaring me." He says in chat.
I'm telling you. Be wary. That's his name. If that's gonna be his name, let it be his name. But first round comes out, ain't nothing to mess with.
Adesanya dogs him. Thank you for the call, Hollywood.
I gotta let you go. All right.
Yep, sounds good, bro. All right, there you have it, guys. Hollywood Hito with the call. He was doing so well. Let me catch up with chat, and then we'll get out of here. I want to see if Holmes is washed up, says Chris Fave. Hito, make Miller cover boxing some more. I'll make an appeal to the numbers. Boxing fans always show up. I'll cover Fury versus Tyson Fury for sure, if that means anything. But as far as fight news, that might be tough. But I miss boxing, miss the hell out of boxing. That's how we started, right, Beta? Holly Holmes, how many times did she defend her belt after Brian Rousey? Holly, long live Royd, says Danny Burns. He's a champion. I think he should do more boxing too. It's very stupid that she lost to Miesha Tate, who lost to Rousey. Yep. What you mean? Israel beat Derek Brunson. I forgot, even though he might not be the same level of wrestler. I forgot all about Brunson. How did someone like Holly Holmes defeat Ronda Rousey? I mean, Ronda was overhyped. I think Holly is boring. Pereira should do the Aspinall fight. That would be insane, bro. If he pulls that off, immediately better career than Adesanya when it's all said and done. And the only reason I bring Adesanya is because their names are intertwined as far as history goes. There's no way to neglect that. Matt the Immortal Brown versus Hamza Chimaev at UFC 300. Make it happen. Dana says, Eddie, welcome to the stream, my guy. I need that fight, Chris. My guy, freaking Eddie. Appreciate the ongoing support. My man, not going to disagree, but I strongly agree. Miller's a racist. Miller hates Hamza. Just admit you hate light-skinned Muslims. Just that's so funny. That reminds me of what Trey said. Who was I supporting? I was supporting Leon Edwards, and Trey goes, what does he go? Just say you hate America. Just say it. It sounded like that. Live stream at about, I'm gonna go a little later today. I know we were doing 7:30. We might do 8 p.m. just so I have more time to work on other content. I'll let you guys know in Discord in case you guys need to know. So just stay on the lookout for that. That's the Twitter. That's the Discord, the IG. If you want to become a member today, that helps the channel out immensely. Helps me get closer to becoming a full-time content creator. And last but not least, my last video that I'm spamming in chat is right there. And that's just more fight news. And that's also covering, did Sean Strickland admit that Drickus beat him, to Drickus himself? Check out that video if you haven't already. Leave me a salute emoji to know that you are locked in. #1 commentary channel on YouTube. Podcast tonight, will you be able to call in again? So be here for that. And whatever topics you want to discuss, let me know on Discord.